Yeah, thank you, Unni, for this nice introduction. So I'll start with the pachychoroid spectrum of diseases. This is a spectrum of diseases to which the common thing is an abnormal and permanent increase in choroidal thickness. It is not just this diffuse or focal increase in choroidal thickness on enhanced depth imaging, but you also look for the dilated outer choroidal vessels or pachyvessels compressing the overlying choriac capillaries and reduced fundus tessellation, and ICG showing early phase dilated pachyvessels and mid or late phase showing choroidal hyperpermeability and leakage. So the first entity is a pachychoroid pigment epitheliopathy, PPE, and it is nothing but non-specific RP changes associated sometimes with small serous pigment epithelial detachment, and it is best appreciated on fundus autofluorescence associated with ICG choroidal hyperpermeability, thick choroids, but there is no serous macular detachment. So it's considered to be a formiferous of CSR and seen in the fellow eyes of CSR. The next entity is central serous chorioretinopathy, where there is a serous macular detachment associated with RP leaks and pigment epithelial detachment, usually young males and type A personality. The OCT typically shows the subretinal fluid. In this case, there is a hyperreflective material, the fibrinous material associated with a serous pigment epithelial detachment. The fluorescein angiography in an acute CSR shows a point leak. Here it is an ink blot or smokestack in few of the cases. And in chronic CSR, you see this kind of typical diffuse RP epitheliopathy kind of leakage or macular RP degeneration or teardrop kind of RP tract. And ICG, as we already mentioned, shows these dilated pachyvessels and mid-phase choroidal hyperpermeability and fluorescein diffuse leakage. These are all classic for chronic CSR. Now, why you need OCT angiography in a CSR? Because the type 1 neovascularization in chronic CSR or in a de novo pachyneovasculopathy, the FA and ICG are sometimes not picking up the neovascularization because of the diffuse leakage on FA and ICG. And the studies have shown that the dye-based angiography picks up only 30% of these subtle neovascularization, whereas OCTA picks up in 95% of the cases, usually associated with this flat irregular PEDs called FIBD. So let us look at a typical case example. A chronic CSR in the left eye, 2 years, and referred for PDT for subfoveal diffuse leakage. The other right eye shows a typical pachychoroid on Swepsore's OCT, but the left eye shows a flat irregular PED that is fibed with subretinal fluid. You can see the subretinal fluid and a flat irregular PED overlying pachyvessel, and there is a sub-RP hyperreflectivity also. The OCTA shows superficial and deep segmentation normal. Avascular retina picks up this beautiful tangled filament kind of CNVM. And this CNVM overlies the area of fibed or flat irregular PED, the type 1 neovascularization in pachy setting. So OCTA is a safe and highly sensitive test to pick up this subtle neovascularization. So this is what I said, in the absence of a chronic CSR setting, pachychoroid disease with subretinal fluid and a type 1 neovascularization, we call it pachyneovasculopathy or PNV, which has a thick choroid, subtle shallow PEDs, and the fluorescein showing a stipple leakage, and ICG angiography showing the hotspot suggesting a neovascularization. So, but this is not unlike AMD, we have a thick pachychoroid and a type 1 neovascularization. OCT angio again is a sensitive tool to pick up these pachyneovasculopathy CNVs overlying pachychoroid. Treatment is usually aflibercept or other anti-VEGF injection. So the last entity in pachychoroid disease spectrum is PCV or polypoidal choroidal vasculopathy. Is a serosanguinous maculopathy, clinically sometimes seen as orangish subretinal nodules, and ICG is the gold standard picking up this early hyper nodules on ICG first minute usually, and late leakage or late washout, and also a feature called late geographic hypercyanescence. This is specific to PCV, unlike neovascular AMD. The other typical features like a notched PED with polyp on the undersurface of the RPE a sharp peaked PED or a thumb-like PED, or a double layer sign harboring the branching vascular network between the separated Brooks and the RPE. These are all classic OCT signs and have around, the new consensus group have found around 82% non-ICGA OCT diagnosis of PCV compared to the gold standard ICG. So it is quite an important feature to understand on OCT. And OCTA also picks up this branching vascular network, but polyps being low flow lesions are poorly visualized on OCT angiography. Coming to a new variant of pachychoroid disease, the peripapillary pachychoroid syndrome, wherein all these features are confined to the nasal macula. For example, you can see the intraretinal subretinal fluid in and around the optic nerve. There is a preferentially nasal macular choroidal thickness, unlike the temporal usual thickening. A mild disc leakage and peripapillary RP atrophy, and the pachyvessels and the choroidal hyperpermeability usually confined to the peripapillary area. So this is a new variant of pachychoroid disease. And also lastly included into the pachychoroid disease spectrum is a focal choroidal excavation, or FCE, which is a distinct area of sharp choroidal excavation on SD-OCT in the absence of staphyloma or other scleral thinning or choroidal thinning. So it is two types: a conforming type where the retina is attached to the RPE, and a non-conforming type where the retina gets detached from the RPE. And in this hyporeflective spaces may be SRF with some amounts of shed outer segments of the photoreceptor. Initially thought as a congenital defect, but now we know it could be acquired. FC could be associated with CSR, PCV, or CNVM. So here is a typical young patient with subretinal hemorrhage at the macula, but his OCT reveals that the type 2 CNVM overlies a focal choroidal excavation. But the relevance is that this new entity usually stable for a long period of time, but it could be associated with CNV, PCV. So careful long-term follow-up is very important, and extremely responds very well to anti-VEGF. Maybe 1 or 2 injections may suffice for the treatment. Let us switch to neovascular AMD. Instead of a thick choroid, you're looking at a thin choroid and elderly patient. SIRE is a shallow irregular RP elevation on OCT. And this could be a telltale sign of a non-exudative CNV harboring in these shallow PEDs. So this is called a double layer sign of AMD, which is usually the RPE separation is less than 100 microns in height and linear dimension is more than 1000 microns. So this comes in the setting of what Unni already described as a drusenoid PED or intermediate AMD that we see. And natural history has shown that 25% progress to CNVM in 5 years. So this is a typical case scenario wherein one eye has wet AMD. There is a other eye showing only a drusenoid flat irregular PED overlying thin choroid. And you see this subtle neovascularization on OCTA, which grows over 6 months and 12 months, where the patient becomes symptomatic and subretinal fluid has come. So it is important to look for this SIRE lesion and early. So we pick up these neovascularization, only close follow-up is required. Earliest signs of exudation, treat with anti-VEGF therapy so that the patient maintains a 6/6 vision even in that stage. Next entity is a dome-shaped maculopathy or DSM. It's a convex anterior protrusion of the macula within the concavity of a posterior staphyloma. In high myopic eyes, it's seen around 10% of the patients. So it is a great mimicker of CSR because you see these point leaks and RP degeneration. It's all mimic CSR, where ICG is the catch here. Unlike the previous cases we saw, there is no choroidal hyperpermeability. It's a hypocyanescence seen on ICG angiography. So the dome could be horizontally or vertically oval. So single OCT scan may not be sufficient. You need a radial OCT scan to pick up this lesion. And PDT is a promising treatment in around 60% of the cases, but only thing is 2 or 3 sittings of PDT may be required. So it's a diagnostic challenge, dome-shaped maculopathy, great mimicker of CSR. OCT radial scans and ICG is the catch here to diagnose. It has a waxing and waning clinical course with long-term visual deterioration, but PDT is a good treatment option in this condition. So switching to vasculopathy now, that's a paracentral acute middle layer maculopathy or PAM lesion. It's a hyperreflective band that is seen in the middle layers of the retina, as you see here, usually seen in older men with diabetes, hypertension, all these things. So it's usually seen as a ill-defined intraretinal whitening, best appreciated on near infrared imaging as a well-circumscribed dark lesion. And now we know that it could be associated with ischemia to the retina. For example, this middle-aged lady with a mild BRVO has 6 parts vision, but there is no CME here. But you see that there is a hyperreflective band in the middle layer temporally, and Octa reveals a superficial as well as the deep segmentation shows ischemia. So we now know that it's an ischemic origin of PAM, best visualized with near infrared imaging, and Octa shows deep and superficial capillary middle layer ischemia. So the last two entities, hyperreflective foci, well described by Unni and again Anand in CNVM or wet AMD, these hyperreflective dots along with other signs like SHRM here could be an activation dot and pigment clump migration and needs aggressive treatment with anti-VEGF therapy. Also, this hyperreflective foci can be seen in serous macular detachment of diabetic macular edema, well described by Anand. This could be precursors of hard exudate clump. So prompt treatment in the presence of hyperreflective dots, and sometimes intravitreal steroids may be more effective than anti-VEGF therapy. So the last entity I would touch upon is a peripapillary choroidal cavitation, which is seen as a yellow-orange inferior peripapillary lesion, usually associated with high myopia and staphyloma. And you can see this hyporeflective cavitation under the RP. And the fluorescein usually shows no leakage, but staining in late phase. ICG is the catch here. It shows all around hypocyanescence during the dye transit. The importance is that glaucoma-like field defect is seen in choroidal cavitation. So the glaucoma has to be ruled out in these high myopic eyes. Rarely it can cause macular detachment and retinoschisis, which may benefit from vitrectomy surgery like in ONH pit that we see. Thank you for patient listening, and thank you all.